I can tell you seriously that Attack on Titan is perhaps my favorite anime series in the world. It's perhaps one of my favorite series in general, regardless of genre. Attack on Titan is a story that keeps you guessing, is layered, and the perfect conjunction of storytelling, art style, and music. It blurs the line between heroes and villains, makes you ask what it means to be free, what the cost of freedom is, and the corruption of power. If there's something wrong with the world, Attack on Titan somehow covers it and makes it a part of its lore. Heroes and villains, everything becomes gray, and hatred and war itself become a well-oiled machine that even those wielding it cannot control. Even Eren comes to the realization that no matter what he does, the rumbling always happens. 80% of humanity will always perish. Whether it's him doing it, whether he runs away with Mikasa, it could be Marley doing it, and this time all of his friends will die. The series poses a question without explaining the answer. Given an impossible choice, the hero must either become the devil to save those he loves, or let his heart hold him back and find the world destroyed with his friends gone as well, all for an extra 4 years of peace and a close to clean conscience. And even after Eren, war remains. Eren even deems himself to be a garden variety idiot with too much power, and that is just him attempting to explain how powerless he is. He's not smart enough to fight his way out of a paper bag, let alone a fourth dimensional event cemented by fate. Whatever your belief is on the ending of the series, one can be pleased that we at least got closure in seeing the end of the journey together. And so, in honor of such a grand series, I am going to create the final, true, complete timeline of Attack on Titan. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Also, we've noticed that a lot of the folks watching our videos aren't necessarily subscribed to the channel. We know that YouTube does a good job of recommending you what you want to watch, but if you want to support our channel, or if you just want to make sure that you don't miss any videos, click that subscribe button, maybe the bell too. Thanks so much. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. Alright, before we begin, it's probably best that we understand that Attack on Titan uses its own dating system. The first episode of the series takes place in the year 845, which occurs 2,000 years after the chronological start of the series. For this era, such as the one that the founder Ymir appeared in, I will use the notation BSC, which stands for Before Standard Calendar. Thanks for bearing with me. Let's get started. Time immemorial. In the years before the story started, Zeke Yeager attests that there was no living matter on Earth until one day there was. This creature appears to have taken the form of a hallucigenia, an extinct type of worm. Supposedly, this thing became the source of all living matter on Earth, which existed merely to multiply and spread to keep its species from dying out. Something Zeke considers to be the goal of life, and that when one is freed from this goal, they can find true peace and true freedom. But enough about the politics of life. These creatures eventually faced extinction, where only one managed to survive, where it found itself in the land that would later come to be known as Marley. It would take refuge under a large tree where it would wait to be found by those nearby. This tree eventually mutates into a titanic tree that grows without bounds as it stands well above the rest of the forest. There, this creature waits for countless years. Unknown era to 1003 BSC. A race of humans known as the Eldians begin to sweep across the world, forming a one-world empire. They eventually make their way into ancient Marley, where they find the Marleyans. Among these Marleyans is a little girl named Ymir. She was doing her daily duties, gathering water, when the Eldians moved in. The Eldians enslaved Ymir and her people, cutting out their tongues and forcing them to do a lot of things that they probably wouldn't have done if they weren't slaves. At some point, Ymir is feeding the pigs and sees one. Perhaps it's because she too valued freedom like Eren did, but she left the gate open, allowing the pig to escape. The pig, having run away, ends up killed, and the king of the Eldians, a man known only as Fritz, demands to know who's responsible. Everyone immediately sells out Ymir, and the king passes his judgment. He will free Ymir, by which he means they will have a fox hunt, and Ymir will be the fox. Ymir runs for her life, with the men close behind, shooting her with arrows. She finds refuge inside of a massive tree where she proceeds to hide. She eventually falls into an underground lake where she's met with a strange glowing worm that attaches itself to her spinal cord, granting her the wish for a strong, immortal body. Ymir turns into the world's first Titan, a Titan that would go down in history as the world's founding Titan. After getting this freedom, however, she instead returns to the king that had thrust her out and offers her power and begins to serve him as a personal servant. 995 BSC. Ymir continues to work as King Fritz's right hand, where she squashes his enemies, builds his bridges, paves his roads, and even marries him and begets him children. Despite having married her, his lecherous nature remains, and she is left to care for her children and to pine for the man who sees her as no more than a weapon. With him, she bears 3 daughters. Their names are Sina, Rose, and Maria. 990 BSC to 370 BSC. King Fritz returns from conquering more nations only for there to be an attempt on his life. Ymir sees the spear coming and jumps in front of it to save her king from imminent demise. Despite the fact that she can regenerate from any wound, she refuses to do so, perishing in the process. Although she was dead, her soul remains a slave to King Fritz, who, for fear of losing the Founding Titan's power, forces his 3 daughters to eat the corpse of their mother in hopes that somehow they might attain her power. Ymir, who had awakened in a world outside of time and space, witnesses a single tree in the center of this desert wasteland as it creates 3 new branches, signifying that her Titan powers had been passed down to her 3 children. This causes the land where Ymir finds herself to be called the Paths. This marks the birth of the other 8 Titans, with each of Ymir's daughters getting 3 different Titan powers from devouring her body. After attaining the Titan powers of their mother, each girl is cursed to die in 13 years, matching the same number of years Ymir lived with her founding Titan. This comes to be known as the Curse of Ymir, with those who attain one of the 9 all having a strict expiration date without fail. In the years after this, the Eldians continue to conquer the world with their 9 Titans, forcing each nation to bear as many in the blood of Ymir as possible to be conduits for her power. As time passes, the royal family maintains the founding Titan, and eventually passes the other 8 to noble families outside of the royal family, yet those who still bear Ymir's blood. The fall of Lagos supposedly happens prior to the Great Titan War, with the Titans ravaging Lago, Valle, and Monte in 3 battles of extraordinary inhumanity. This, however, is fabricated history and is used as propaganda to both force guilt upon remaining Eldians, as well as turn the opinion of Marleyans against the Eldians. Current era. Year 240. A pandemic sweeps over the world, causing many casualties. However, the King of Eldia uses the power of the Founding Titan to make all Eldians immune to the disease, which results in not a single Eldian dying from the sickness. This causes Eldian numbers to skyrocket as the rest of the world takes the brunt of the pandemic. When the world rebalances, the ratio of Eldian to non-Eldian has become far closer than previous. Year 700 to 780. At some point in time, the Founding Titan is passed to a man named Karl Fritz, who regrets the actions of his lineage, believing them to be vile. This is the era of the Great Titan War, where the noble families fought against each other. It's during this time that the Fritz family and the Tiber family conspire a way to banish the Founding Titan and his people, freeing the annexed nations and granting them autonomy from the Eldian Empire. The Tiber family becomes respected, but the rest of the subjects of Ymir would face persecution for merely being the same bloodline as Ymir, and for fear that they might be turned into Titans. The king retreats to Paradise Island just off the coast of the Marleyan continent, where he uses the power of the Founding Titan to turn select members of his group, an unknown number, but possibly above 500,000 Eldians, into colossal titans, which he then has lock arms in circles around their settlements, forming the 3 walls which Karl Fritz names after the founder Ymir's 3 daughters. Karl Fritz then issues a declaration to the world that he will destroy the world with an event known as the Rumbling if they attempt to attack him on his paradise. This, however, is the world's biggest bluff, as he then makes a vow with the founding Titan's paths renouncing war, ensuring that this Titan can never be used by anyone who doesn't possess royal blood, and that no royal possessing the founding Titan can ever use its powers for war. The founding Titan would also sever the Ackerman clan from the founder's power, ensuring that they can never turn into a Titan, but instead granting them the ability to accumulate combat knowledge over the generations that, upon awakening, forces thousands of years worth of combat data through their subconscious, making them the strongest of warriors, capable of defeating the Nine in combat. The founder then erases the memories of all within the wall, causing them to believe that nobody lives beyond the walls, having history books rewritten to prove that. The Fritz family then has their names changed to Reese and has a secondary group take control of the kingdom publicly, while the Reese family rule from the shadows and protect the location of the founding Titan. The people of Hizuru, such as the Azumabito clan, which had in times past allied with Eldia, are now viewed disdainfully by the world. In return, some of the people of Hizuru, particularly of the Azumabito clan, are invited by King Karl Fritz to join them beyond the sea in the Walls of Paradise, where Mikasa's ancestors agree to join the king. 780 to 785. The rise of the Eldian restorationists begins, with a cult dedicated to the founder Ymir. They take a little girl off the streets and name her Ymir and call her the new incarnation of the founder. This little girl is treated like a princess until Marley breaks them up. Everyone blames it all on Ymir, and in return for her crimes, Ymir is then taken to Paradise, where she's turned into a pure Titan by the Marleyans and set to roam the island for all eternity. 806 to 835. Grisha Jaeger is born in Liberio and is the big brother of a little girl named Faye. The two would escape the internment zone in an attempt to see where the airships land. They're then found by Eren Kruger and his partner, where they must pay for their crimes. Eren Kruger is a little laid back and says that he and his family can either do time in a forced labor camp, or he can just beat the crap out of them and call it even. Grisha chooses the beating to spare his family the pain. Grisha's partner then takes Faye off, claiming to return her home, but instead has her killed, letting her be mauled to death by dogs. Eren beats Grisha and then allows him to watch as the airships return to the airport, claiming that since he went through all of the trouble of seeing this, he might as well enjoy it. However, upon returning home, Grisha is informed that his sister was murdered, and he takes on the guilt of this death. Grisha would eventually grow up and join the Eldian Restorationists, where he meets Dina Fritz. Eren Kruger would then eventually go on to inherit the Attack Titan, where he is only shown using it once during his lifetime. Dina and Grisha eventually conceive and give birth to a son named Zeke. It's from here that Zeke is caught between the radicalization of his parents and the Marleyan propaganda of his grandparents. At the same time, Erwin Smith is born and raised by his history teacher of a father who secretly posits a theory that the royal family have doctored the history books. This theory gets out when Erwin begins to spread it. This results in the capture, torture, and murder of Erwin's father. Frida Reese is born. In the year 829, Uri Reese inherits the Founding Titan, and in Marley, Tom Kasarver inherits the Beast Titan after the murder-suicide of his family. Kenny Ackerman, a serial murderer who carries a vendetta against the government, would at around this time attempt to assassinate Uri Reese for the Fritz family's treatment of the Ackerman clan, which has resulted in them being hunted because the founder can't alter their memories. Uri defeats Kenny and apologizes to him heavily for what their people have done to his, and sways Kenny to his side, causing Kenny to join and lead the 1st Interior Squad. Kenny ends up joining a cult that treats the Founding Titan like a god. He begins to covet the power of the founder and begins to plot a way to take its power for himself. Marley begins to covet the resources Paradise Island possesses and realizes that very soon the world will have anti-Titan weapons. Marley begins putting together a plan to invade Paradise, and begins training children to inherit the 9 Titans, opening up a program to young Eldians promising that upon completion of training, should they make it into the warrior unit, that the family of the Eldian will receive full Marleyan citizenship on par with that of the Tiber family. Realizing that this is their chance, Grisha aggressively attempts to indoctrinate Zeke and then forces him into the warrior program, where Zeke falls behind in every aspect. Tom Sarver becomes Zeke's confidant. Zeke would later hear that the Marley security team is closing in on the Eldian restorationists and begs his parents to forsake their goals for this. Grisha and Dina refuse. Zeke begins to believe that he and his family will be caught and punished for what his parents are doing, and tells Mr. Sarver about his predicament. Tom tells Zeke that he needs to make a tough call to protect himself and his family, and Zeke sorrowfully tattles on his parents, causing them to be arrested for being restorationists, a betrayal that Grisha and Dina are surprised by. This, however, cements Zeke's loyalty, and he is allowed to inherit the Beast Titan. Grisha is tortured for information regarding the other restorationists, and then he and Dina are taken to Paradise, where Dina is transformed into a pure Titan. However, before Grisha is transformed into a Titan, Eren Kruger betrays Marley and displays his attack Titan. He then frees Grisha and bequeaths their goal of getting the founding Titan to Grisha. He then passes the attack Titan to Grisha, and Grisha takes it to the walls, where he's captured and thrown in prison for being outside of the walls. However, he displays amnesia, and so they feel bad for him and let him out. He would end up saving Shiganshina from an epidemic, becoming a fearsomely trained doctor, one who would eventually be requisitioned by the most powerful noble houses in all of Paradise. He would go on to marry Carla Jaeger and conceive a son, Eren, who is born not much long after this, 837 to 844. Grisha comes to learn that the Reese family are the true royals of the Wall, and that they possess the founding Titan. He discovers the chapel where the Reese family gather early, but refuses to enter, scared of losing his family a second time. Frida Reese inherits the founding Titan from her uncle Uri, and Zeke inherits the Beast Titan from Tom Sarver. Zeke keeps Tom's corrective lenses, opting to wear them himself as a memento to a father figure he respected as much as he ever did Grisha. Zeke also recalls his plan that he and Tom came up with to passively euthanize the Eldian people by removing their ability to reproduce. At this time, other Titans are chosen for the warrior unit. These Titans are Reiner Braun, who for his unwavering faith in Marley is given access to the Armored Titan. Bertolt Hoover, who for his controlled and intelligent nature is given access to the Colossal Titan. Annie Leonhardt, who for her deadly and adaptive nature is given access to the female Titan. Marcel Galliard, who is chosen to be Jaw Titan after taking his brother down to give Reiner a chance, and Piek Finger, who for her intelligent, resourceful, and meekly enduring nature is chosen to be the user of the Cart Titan. The group is groomed to go to Paradise for their mission to reclaim the Founder. They prove themselves on the field of battle. Annie also mentions that at this time, upon learning how adaptable the female Titan is, they force her to eat the most obscene things to bolster her power. During this time, as they enjoy their parade in Marley, Reiner gets to meet his father and is disappointed when the man wants nothing to do with him, crushing Reiner's hopes of making his family whole again. Levi at this time would be asked to join the Survey Corps and would accept. Mikasa Ackerman and her family lives peacefully in a small cabin in the middle of nowhere. It's then that human traffickers locate the family and kill both her father and mother, leaving only Mikasa alive. It just so happens that on this day, Dr. Grisha Jaeger was scheduled to visit their home. Upon finding the bodies, Grisha demands that his son Eren stay put. Eren, however, does not do as asked and ends up locating the traffickers. He plays on their sympathy and causes them to let their guard down, where he kills 2 of the 3. He commands Mikasa to fight. Mikasa awakens her Ackerman blood and stabs the man in the heart from the back. Grisha angrily scolds Eren for what he's done, but Eren fires back, saying that if they had done nothing, Mikasa would have died. Eren then notices that she's cold and wraps a scarf around her, giving her the treasure that she would hold on to for the rest of her life. Mikasa is then adopted by the Jaeger family, where Eren, Mikasa, and Armin all meet for the first time. At some point, Armin's parents attempt to go over the walls in an air balloon, but are caught and killed by the military police. Zeke, meanwhile, discovers that he is capable of turning other Eldians into Titans with his spinal fluid, and can control them with his roar in a manner described only by the Marleyans as founder-like. They wonder what his secret is, but only Zeke realizes that it's because he is secretly a pure-blooded royal from his mother's side. 845 to 850. Keith Shaddis, the 12th commander of the Survey Corps, passes on his title to Erwin Smith after a series of failures that he can't help but take credit for. The warrior unit's first wave appears on Paradise, consisting of Reiner, Bertolt, Annie, and Marcel. Taking camp, Marcel rescues Reiner from being eaten by a pure Titan, but then is himself eaten by that Titan, that later transforms back into the human form of the orphan girl Ymir. Eren wakes up from a long dream with tears in his eyes, yet can't remember what it's about. Eren declares his desire to Mikasa that he wants to join the Survey Corps, and Mikasa snitches to Carla, who asks Grisha to punish Eren, but Grisha says that this is merely Eren's nature and promises to show him what is in the basement when he gets back. Grisha leaves on a work trip. After his departure from Shiganshina, the wall is kicked in by the Colossal Titan and the Armored Titan, which results in the death of Carla Jaeger at the hands of the Smiling Titan, aka Dina Jaeger. She'd be like, "Take that, homewrecker." Grisha hears of this attack and confronts the Reese family in their chapel, where he begs for their help. They refuse due to the vow renouncing war, and Grisha nearly attacks them but fails to. It's then that a certain genocidal maniac from the future shows up and tells him to tatake, which causes Grisha to turn into the Attack Titan and attack Frida Reese, killing her and taking her founding titan. A guilt-stricken Grisha cries out, "Is this what you wanted, Eren?" and proceeds to tell the future shade of his eldest son Zeke that he loves him, but that from here on out, Eren is going to get whatever he desires. Grisha returns to Wall Rose, where he finds Eren and takes him aside. He attempts to inject Eren with something, but Eren fights back. Grisha manages to inject Eren, turning him into a pure titan. He allows Eren to eat him, giving his son the Attack and Founding Titans. Keith Shaddis later goes to investigate, but finds Eren alone and brings him back to his friends to sleep. Eren then awakens the next day with no memory of what had happened, with only the basement key to his house around his neck as a sign that Grisha was ever there. At some point in time, a famine begins to set in as the land can't contain all the people in the remaining walls, and so a suicide mission is declared, where many people, such as Armin's grandfather, are sent back to Wall Maria to fight and ultimately die at the hands of Titans. The next year, they all join the 104th Cadet Corps. They train, where Keith Shaddis, fulfilling a promise he made, attempts to sabotage Eren, but finds that Eren has enough skill to make it regardless of the sabotaging. The 104th Cadet Corps graduate from the academy. At some point thereafter, there's a massive snowstorm, and to survive, Ymir displays her Jaw Titan transformation to Krista Lenz, who would then tell her that her name is Historia Reese. The two start a strong friendship together. 850. The 104th Cadet Corps are stationed in Trost, where everything is peaceful until the Colossal Titan appears again. The Colossal Titan kicks in the wall, but the Armored Titan fails to break through Wall Rose. The battle becomes desperate to keep Titans out of Wall Rose. During this battle, Eren is eaten, but eventually realizes that he can turn into a Titan, and uses this power to win the day by sealing up the wall with a boulder. The people within the walls are understandably wary of Eren, and a military tribunal is called to determine his fate. Eren is spared, where Levi Ackerman promises to take responsibility for him. Eren begins training and studying his powers and in Titans in general, but two of his study Titans, Sonny and Bean, are killed by the warrior unit. Erwin asks Eren the all-important question of who do you think the true enemy is, insinuating that it is humans all along that are trying to destroy everyone. The Scout Regiment attempt to return to Shiganshina to discover what could be within the basement that Eren's father so desperately wanted Eren to see. They ride toward the district but are attacked by the female Titan, which they lure into the forest and trap. However, the female Titan summons Titans to eat her, and her shifter escapes through the fray. She reassumes Titan form and kills Levi's squad, forcing Eren into confrontation with her, where she unapologetically kicks his ass and attempts to kidnap him. However, Mikasa and Levi chase her down and manage to rescue Eren. The scouts then attempt to flee back to Wall Rose, where they're chased by Titans. However, they escape. Despite the loss, the scouts discover who is truly behind this and lure Annie Leonhardt into a trap in the Stohess district of Walsina, where she's defeated by Eren. She encapsulates herself into a crystal made of hardened Titan flesh to survive, and the scouts learn nothing from Annie this way, and Erwin, despite the casualties in Stohess, manages to garner approval from the nobles. They also learn that there are Titans inside of the walls. However, the battle isn't over, as the Beast Titan and Cart Titan make their appearances in Shiganshina for the first time, where they proceed to make their way into Wall Rose. The Beast Titan proceeds to have everyone in Ragako village turned into pure Titans and begins leading an assault from there. The 104th Cadet Corps are informed of this and quickly pulled out of their leave and forced back onto the field to help deal with this crisis. They go to differing villages to warn them all of the threat, while attempting to find where in the wall there's been a breach, yet despite riding for as long as they had, there was nothing detected. At around this time, Zeke discovers ODM gear and finds it a novel idea, sending its specs back to Marley. The scouts then flee to a castle to wait out the night. There, they seek out resources and find cans upon cans of Marley and food, which Reiner discovers that Ymir can read. Castle Utgard is then converged upon by the Beast Titan and the Pure Titans. This leaves Reiner and Bertholdt startled, particularly when they're asked why they're so surprised, saying it looks like they just saw a living legend. Zeke makes his way to the top of the wall. Castle Utgard falls, but before everyone can be killed, Ymir turns into the Jaw Titan to protect the others, and nearly perishes until the rest of the scout regiment arrives. They take Ymir to Wall Rose for medical treatment. However, upon making it to the wall, Reiner and Bertholdt take Eren to the side where Reiner spills the beans that he and Bertholdt are the Armored and Colossal Titans, respectively, startling Eren. Mikasa tries to kill them, but Reiner and Bertholdt transform and take Eren. Reiner, as the Armored Titan, grips Eren and slides down the walls, while the Colossal Titan swallows Ymir and holds off the scouts from atop. Reiner hits the ground, but Eren transforms. It's a one-sided battle until Eren remembers how to use joint locks, which begin to shatter the Armored Titan's armor. When it looks like Eren might win, Reiner pushes Eren under Bertholdt and cries out for him to fall. Bertholdt then falls off the side of the wall and lands on top of them, giving Reiner the opening he needs to escape with Eren. The scouts get their horses and give chase. They chase the Armored Titan back to Wall Maria's interior, but quickly find themselves caught up to by the scouts. They continue to run, but Erwin daringly breaks off and lures Pure Titans behind toward the Armored Titan. This ends up with Eren breaking free, but results in Hannes' death at the hands of the Smiling Titan. Eren makes contact with Dina Fritz and then summons the full power of the Founding Titan, which he then uses to command the other Titans to attack Reiner and Bertholdt and to kill the Smiling Titan. They then make their way back to Wall Rose. Reiner and Bertholdt flee with Ymir back to Shiganshina, where they send Ymir back to Marley to have her stripped of her Titan. After returning to Wall Rose, they discuss the Titans in the walls, and how Titans seem to be humans turned into monsters as shown in Rogako Village, where they also discover that the remaining Pure Titan was Connie's mother. Thereafter, Eren and what remains of the 104th Cadet Corps are transferred and serve under Levi, but it's discovered that the government is now against them for learning too much about Titans and the walls. They attempt to capture Squad Levi, but Squad Levi escapes. Demo Reeves is discovered to be in cahoots with the military police, and Kenny Ackerman and his squad of interior police are sent to kill him and take Astoria and Eren. This succeeds. Erwin, Pixis, and Commander-in-Chief Zachary plot to overthrow the government, discovering that the current king is a sham and that the Reese family have been manipulating everyone, hiding information about the walls. They plan to bring down the treasonous Reese family and replace them with Astoria. They locate the Reese family at the chapel and attempt to break in. There, they're met with Kenny Ackerman, who betrays Rod Reese and attempts to free Eren, allowing him to turn into a Titan. However, Eren refuses, believing that it's his fault that all of this happened, and surrenders to Astoria so that she can eat him. Astoria refuses and shatters the syringe of Titan fluid. Rod Reese, however, won't let this slide and ingests the Titan fluid and becomes a massive aberrant Titan known as the King of the Walls. The scouts come together to defeat him before he can level the Orva district. Eren and the scouts gather gunpowder to blow it apart. The Titan makes it to the walls, where it's discovered that the ground that it had been dragging itself over had worn away its face, leaving its mouth wide open for Eren to throw the gunpowder in. The Titan detonates, sending chunks everywhere. However, Rod is still alive, and Astoria must find the chunk he's in to kill him. She locates this chunk and slices it, killing her father. She then claims her right to the throne and becomes queen. After this, the group is allowed to rest for a while as they prepare to return to Shiganshina. After a nice celebratory party, they march to Shiganshina, where Reiner is found hiding in the walls. Eren seals one wall, but it's discovered to be a trap, and the Beast Titan has them boxed in with his Pure Titans. After Eren engages in combat with Reiner and Reiner is defeated, he lets out a roar, and Bertholdt is thrown into the district where he transformed into the Colossal Titan. Together, they fight against the Titans and against Bertholdt, but things look bad. Erwin knows he needs to bring down the Beast Titan, so he orders Levi to kill Zeke while Erwin and his squad distract him. Erwin's squad rushes toward the Beast Titan and are destroyed, one and all save for Floch. Levi manages to cut down the Titans but fails to kill Zeke. At this time, Reiner is beaten a second time by Mikasa, and Bertholdt is defeated by Eren and Armin, though Armin is left mortally wounded. It's then revealed that Erwin also survived, but is mortally wounded as well. It's up to Levi to decide whether to revive Erwin or Armin, and in the end, after Erwin seems to refuse his decision, Levi revives Armin and feeds him Bertholdt, turning Armin into the Colossal Titan. They end up going into the basement and discovering that there really is a civilization beyond the sea and that they're very racist. After this, Eren and Mikasa are thrown in the brig for attacking Levi over his decision to revive Erwin, a decision he revoked soon after. They're then let out of the brig and given medals by Astoria. After kissing her hand, Eren witnesses the future and is scarred for life. 851 to 854. Time passes and the Titans on Paradise are utterly vanquished. They make it to the sea where Eren and Armin manage to capture a Marleyan vessel that was sent back by Zeke. As it turns out though, Zeke's loyalists are on board and defect to Paradise, bringing knowledge and technology with them. Eren by this time has changed considerably, becoming far more pessimistic and dark. Eren and the rest of the scouts go on recon to Marley to see if there's any hope for peace, which there isn't. Eren saves a little boy from being beaten up for stealing and apologizes for what he's going to do to him later on. Mikasa considers confessing her love to Eren, but doesn't. They return to Paradise. The failure of the warrior unit sparks a war in the Mid-East, which the warrior unit have to clean up. The war is eventually won when Marley manages to destroy the Mid-East Alliance's fleet. However, during this conflict, Eren Yeager, who had snuck away from Paradise, goes deep undercover as a wounded soldier and is brought back to Liberia, where he meets with Zeke and his grandfather, who has lost his mind for guilt of what happened to his son. All the while, Eren sends letters back to Paradise via Falco Mail and informs them of what's going on. Willie Tybur hopes to once more take the Founding Titan, and to do so, he makes an alliance with other nations, inviting them to Liberia for a dramatic display of everything they had suffered through and were suffering through to protect the world. Unbeknownst to them, Paradise's scouts were also in attendance. And the moment that Willie declared war, Eren came up out of the basement of a heavily populated building in his Titan form, killing many people in Liberia, eating Willie, and crushing the Marleyan heads of state. Armin then unleashes a massive blast in the harbor that decimates the wharf and eradicates the Marleyan fleet. The warriors scramble to respond, with even Laura Tybur debuting as the Warhammer. However, Eren defeats her and with the Jaw Titan's unwilling help, eats Laura, taking the Warhammer for himself. Zeke is supposedly killed, but instead is secretly captured by Paradise. After eating the Warhammer, Eren returns to Paradise with the scouts. Unbeknownst to them, however, Gabby and Falco are on board and kill Sasha Brous. They're captured and returned to Paradise as well. However, the island quickly becomes under Eren and Zeke's control when tainted wine filled with Zeke's spinal fluid is ingested by the populace of Paradise. Eren and Zeke prepare to meet, but Marley launches a desperate counterattack on Paradise, where the remaining warriors attempt to stop Eren and Zeke from touching. However, this fails, as the moment Gabby shoots Eren's head off, Zeke displays why every boy should play catch with his father, catching Eren's head and activating the Founding Titan. With a roar, all Titan hardening is undone and Eren begins the rumbling. At first, everyone's confused and they can't really do much, as the Jaegerists are in control. But upon teaming up with the remaining warriors, minus Porco because Porco was eaten by Falco, they manage to make it to the port where they hope to find a flying boat, which is an oversimplification of a pontoon plane. However, the Jaegerists attack and attempt to stop them. Annie, who had just woke up, helps Reiner fend off the Jaegerists while the Azumabito clan get to work preparing the plane. They attach it to a boat and get it out to sea. They take it to another wharf off of Paradise where they plan to get it ready, but Floch appears and attempts to kill them. Mikasa kills Floch as the flying boat is then repaired. They then take the dynamite off the plane and save it for a rainy day, but uh-oh, the rumbling caught up with them. Hanji decides that this would be a really cool way to die, so she sets off to buy the scouts some time. She fights valiantly and takes down quite a few colossal titans, but her cape bursts into flames and she dies. Due to her sacrifice though, the scouts get into the air. They consider trying to reason with Eren, but Eren takes them to the paths and informs them that he's not going to be reasoned with, and tells them that they either need to submit to him or fight him to the death. The scouts locate Eren and jump out of the plane onto the Founding Titan's back as it marches along. On its back, they attempt to set off explosives around Eren's neck, but Armin is caught by a Titan that begins to take him to the rear of the Founding Titan, as previous generations of the 9 Titans attempt to get in the scouts' way. It's then revealed that Falco's Jaw Titan can fly, and they use him as aerial support as they search for Armin. Armin, within the paths, finds Zeke and convinces him to help them. In the end, they rescue Armin, and Zeke appears from the Founder, calling for Levi to kill him, which Levi does. This causes the rumbling to come to a full stop. They activate the explosives, causing Eren's head to fall off. The Shining Worm appears and attempts to reattach the head, but Reiner grabs it and wrestles with it. It then flees toward the scouts that had escaped Eren's back and turns them into pure Titans. However, Annie and Pieck continue trying to stop the worm from getting back to Eren, who has now taken the form of a colossal titan and is engaging Armin in combat. With Mikasa's help, they locate Eren and enter into his mouth, where Mikasa beheads him. We're then treated to a memory in the paths, where Eren explains his reasoning to them and tells Mikasa to move on, but also reveals that Eren really wanted her to be upset when he's gone, displaying a lot of the humanity that was believed to have been lost. In the end, Eren is killed and the power of the Titans disappears. Mikasa returns to paradise and buries Eren's head under his favorite tree. 857. The scouts, under Historia Reis, become ambassadors to the world and to Paradise, who ask them to mediate peace talks between the two factions, which apparently goes quite well for quite some time. The future and beyond. The scouts are allowed to return to Paradise as they need, where they visit Eren's grave often. Mikasa eventually dies of old age, still wrapped in Eren's scarf. But despite Eren's hopes that this would deter war still returns, and the world is once more turned to a wasteland. During this time, a young child and their dog make their way to Paradise, where they find a massive tree not too unlike the one Ymir had found thousands of years earlier. This tree is the same one that Eren's head was buried under. The child enters the cave, and the story ends. And that, my friends, was the complete timeline. So far, at least. What, you're surprised because I said so far? Well, here's the thing. Rumors abound that Isayama-sensei is writing one more chapter that he will release sometime in 2024. What this chapter could be is unknown, and perhaps it won't bring anything new to the timeline. Or maybe this is a hint that the open ending he left there, where we're obviously supposed to believe that the child entering the tree will become the new founding titan, will be fulfilled in a sequel series. I'd love to see something like that sometime, but alas, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let us know in the comments, and consider leaving a like and a subscription for the channel. Trust me, it helps us out a lot. Until next time, peace.
Did you enjoy our video? Well, then be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.